Hi there. Today I'm going to talk to you about 3 ways that learning leadership can totally revolutionize your business. So, we're going to talk about why your leadership matters, how you can change it, and what you're going to get from your business by growing yourself as a leader. So, one of my favorite quotes is from John Maxwell, and you've probably heard it. He says, "Everything rises and falls on leadership." So, in our business, if everything rises, we grow, we get better, we have higher sales, we have better team members. And if everything falls, low sales, poor employees, not doing so hot, if everything rises and falls on leadership, shouldn't we be concerned about it? Shouldn't we want to do better and maybe grow ourselves as leaders? So that's what today's video is all about. I was thinking about how in my business we had a service company. We did floor and fabric cleaning. So I was thinking about how early on, before we did any leadership development or trying to grow ourselves as leaders, I was not a good leader. And I'm not ashamed to admit it because I totally was. And I had a blame problem. So let me explain. Anytime something wrong would happen in the business, right? Like an unhappy client or somebody didn't follow a process and now a client is expecting a price that we're not okay with, or a technician didn't follow our process and so now we have problems to fix at a job. Anytime something would go wrong, it wasn't my fault. I'm not the one who did it. I wasn't there on the job. Why are you yelling at me? So this feeling of blaming others or putting it on someone else because I told you how to do that, why didn't you do it? That was really a blame problem. I was blaming other people. So this became an issue in the company because I wasn't leading in a good way. And unfortunately, when your team members see you lead a certain way, they're going to follow suit. They're going to start blaming and putting the blame on something else. So if you try to bring up something they did wrong, oh, well, such and such showed me to do it that way, or you did tell me to do that, Nobody wanted to take responsibility for anything, and that can really become a problem in the business. So, how does leadership affect this? Well, because like John Maxwell said, everything rises and falls on leadership. So, it's our responsibility. And this really hit home with me one time when we were doing a management training through like a video series on it. And the guy who was doing the training, he said, everything is management's fault. So management, that's me because I'm the owner. We didn't have managers yet at that time. So it's me, it's my fault. Everything's my fault. Ouch. That really hurt to hear because at the time, anytime that something would go wrong, it was my fault. I'm not the one who did it. So this was a mindset shift that really I had to think about and change in me if I wanted to grow our business and have leaders step up from within the company and take over and have a successful business. So that's where this thought of everything is management's fault kind of started. And what ended up happening is we made the shift in the business and things definitely started to get better. So I want to give you a really interesting example of when this really started to shift. So we had that training, and then we had a situation happen where one of the services that we did in our company was apply sealer to grout lines on tile floors. Well, we had a technician one time who, I don't know, he was in a hurry, whatever the problem was, he made a mess at this guy's house and got grout sealer like all over the guy's floor, made a mess with it. Well, the next day, oh, and he told him, don't worry about it because tomorrow you won't even see it. Right? Well, the next day, the guy called our office and obviously he was not happy. And who do you think answered the phone? Me. So I get to talk to him. Well, he wasn't happy. And so he was really letting me have it about how your technician did this and you need to come fix it. And I want my money back. And, all of this drama over the phone. And here comes that feeling inside of me growing of, this isn't my fault. I wasn't the one who was there. And I said something like that to him, like, sir, why are you yelling at me? I'm not the one who did it. Oh, that was totally the wrong thing to say to this guy, because I think possibly he watched that management training that I had just seen and he knew that everything was management's fault, because he totally called me out on it. And he was like, aren't you the owner? It's your company. It's your fault. You trained the guy. Well, he was 100% right, because it was my fault. And that's where this whole thought of everything is management's fault really we can bring it full circle, because I was the one responsible for training my team members and making sure that they delivered that outstanding service experience that we were promising to clients. So let's get into the 3 ways that shifting that mindset, and from this point forward, how shifting that mindset really made a difference in my company. So, number 1 is that your team is going to perform at a higher level. And at this point, if someone had promised me that after that phone call, I would have been all over this growing myself as a leader thing, because that was a rough phone call. Your team is going to perform at a higher level because you're setting a standard that they need to follow. So if you have an upset client who calls because one of your technicians got grout sealer all over their floor, you know they didn't follow your process. Or another big one in our company was we had certain steps for everything, right? And like for carpet cleaning, we had a 12-step cleaning process, and we left your floors almost dry. They would be dry pretty quickly. Well, if a client called back like within 2 days and said, oh, my carpet is still wet, I knew right away that my technician did not follow the process, because built into our 12-step process are 3 ways that we won't overwet your carpet. So your team can perform at a higher level because you're going to hold them more accountable to those standards that you've set. But that takes work from you, because you have to hold them accountable. So if someone doesn't follow that process, you have to say to the guy, hey, what happened on that job? Did you do this, this, and this? Because if you did, that wouldn't happen. So next time, what are you going to do different? And hopefully they say, I'm going to follow all 12 steps. Yes, exactly. Bingo. And you better believe for the next week, I'm going to be popping in on their jobs, doing quality check phone calls on the same day to the clients to make sure that they're thrilled with the service, to really make sure that he's performing at a high level so that I'm maintaining the standard. So that's number 1. That's a way it can totally revolutionize your business. If you just watch this video to this part, your business could be amazing. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that your team is going to stop depending on you. The business is just not going to depend on you as much, because they're going to start making better decisions. When they're on the job, they're going to think, oh, could I cut some corners here? No, I better not, because if I do, Mrs. Jones's carpet isn't going to dry as fast. Or insert whatever service you do into this example. The point is, they're going to make better decisions when they're in the field or talking with a customer. And they're going to take ownership of things. This is not just this company's reputation, it's my reputation. And they're going to own the outcome. Yes, I did that. I didn't follow that. And they're going to solve problems better. So when a situation comes up where they do have a problem, like let's go back to the guy with the grout sealer, if you realize right away that maybe your tool isn't working properly and it's leaking, let's fix that before we just finish the entire floor and have a huge mess to clean up. Or if it's someone on the phone talking with a customer and the customer asks for something we don't do, they're going to make a better choice in solving that problem to make sure it aligns with your values and what you have trained them on. So overall, so far we've covered, they're going to perform better, and the business is going to stop depending on you. And the last thing is that it's going to create freedom for you. So when you started your business, did you start the business so that you could work 24/7 and put out fires all day and feel stressed and just have your business consume your mind? Probably not. That's not why I started my business. But unfortunately, a lot of times that's where small business owners end up, is we end up feeling like slaves to our business. It consumes our mind 24/7 and we have no real freedom. But I'm telling you, if you grow yourself as a leader and you implement some of these changes, it will revolutionize your business and it will create more freedom for you, because the stress of the day-to-day struggles of those unhappy clients and those problems that you have to solve, we just covered in step 2, your team is going to do that. You're going to train your team to think like you and solve those problems and step into a leadership role and take some of that pressure off of you because they're going to do it. So wouldn't that be amazing? And then think about what you could do with your time once they start doing that. You will be able to focus on the things that you want to focus on to actually scale and grow your business. So maybe you have a vision of opening up other locations or moving some of your leaders up into more management and leadership roles in the company, some people who are stepping up. It will give you time to work with them, develop them as leaders so that you can really step into the ownership role of the business versus the putter out fires. You don't want to be the chief fire putter outer in your business. You want to be the owner. So that's what you're going to be able to shift to. So, I mean, those are such amazing, strong reasons. There's many more, but just those 3 right there, like I said, are just going to totally revolutionize your business. I know that they did that for our business, and I'm so grateful that we started learning about leadership back then, because if we hadn't, I don't know where we would be today. We would probably still have the business, but still be struggling day to day, putting out fires, trying to find good employees, all of those issues. So think about that. Your team will perform at a higher level. The business will stop depending on you, and you're going to find more freedom. So I hope that was helpful. And I just want to mention that I'm having my next webinar is coming up on April 28th. And the topic is for you to step out of the field. So if you're in the home services industry or skilled trades, you have guys or gals, technicians that are working, going out into do home services for people, this one is for you. We're going to talk all about stepping out of the field, take you from being a technician to becoming a true owner of a business. So that's coming up on April 28th. I'm going to tag it or put the link here on this video. But also, you can always find free resources at our website, which is skilllevelup.com. I hope to see you on that webinar.